And we're back live on your number one sports podcast, All Things Sports. Small Town EP here live from Atlanta. Wait, Julian live from New York. Big Kev Shot gets the night off. Personal matters he has to tend to. We'll see you soon, Kev. Whew. The NFL schedule's out, June. The Panthers couldn't close out, and we're back to give them the real in sports.
Yes, sir.
And the National Blowout Association strikes one more time. Apparently, for the time so, the Nuggets are getting dub 5, damn near 48-25, 4 minutes left in the first half. Timberwolves looking to push this to 7 games, going back to Ball Arena in Denver. And Edwards so far 19 points, 2 rebounds. Karl Anthony Towns 6 points, 9 rebounds. Jokic 11 points, 5 rebounds. It just looks like
Yep.
Denver is in disarray right now. June is tuned in live watching it, if I'm not mistaken. What have you seen so far this first half that would indicate to you Minnesota could probably close this out in 7 games?
Energy. I think tonight is about coming out strong, coming out with a will, not being playing discouraged and facing the music as far as Denver being looking like the better team the last few games. Minnesota just came out in this one ready to roll, and I mean, they put their foot on the gas in the first quarter and haven't stopped. Anthony Edwards, he pointed out after it was either after game 3 or 4 that he said, it was on him. He wanted to accept blame for, the lack of energy that his team came out with. And that was one of the big things that stood out for me tonight. That ball is moving around. The defense is, real handsy. And Denver just looks a bit flat. Shots aren't necessarily falling for them, but they're just not playing with as much intensity as they have been, games 3, 4, and 5, really. So, hey, man, we got a good game here. I don't want to count Denver out. It's a 20-point game. It is the National Blood Association tonight, as you said, but, I'm never going to give Denver I'm never going to count them out. So it's still the first half. Scores, the lead is 20. They're trying to get it under 20 right here with less than 4 to go. So,
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The defending champions. Excuse me, sorry. They're defending champions since Jokic won the MVP last week. I mean, he was shooting 60% from the floor, just absolutely going crazy in the following games post winning MVP. It really just looked like they were, going to do the typical Denver Nuggets kind of, theme story and kind of struggle the first, game or two in each series, but then, come back and take care of business. And they did. Tonight, looking like a different story right now, down 21 with about 3.5 left in the first half. Who do you think needs to? I know you said that shots aren't necessarily falling, and it's about the energy. Do you see anyone outside of Jokic that can step up this evening, or is Jokic really going to have to maybe put the team on his back? Because we've seen he scores. He's more of he's a scorer and a facilitator. We've seen him, go for 40 plus, and then the team still
yeah.
loses. We've seen him go for 25 and 15, and the team that's when they thrive. Do you think Jokic just has to put the team on his back tonight, or do you think that this just needs to be a hey, calm down, team effort, let's get back into
Yeah.
this?
Yeah. I'm glad you pointed out that second point. I think it is more about calm down, stay poised. We've come back from, 20 points before. Jamal Murray, though, is definitely an X factor. Like, we spoke about the bench being a crucial point of this for this team, and obviously Joker being the best player in the league still, and having to be dominant. Jamal Murray does bring another element out of that team and out of that offense when he's going. He makes it real hard for the defense to keep up. But I do think the biggest thing is for Denver to just kind of maintain where they're at right now and just stop the bleeding for the last 3 minutes of this first half. And then, once we get to that second half, it's time to try to slow the pace down, play Denver basketball through Jokic with the help of Murray. And I think things could look better for them. To me, though, this one, I think it's over. Minnesota did come out super hungry for this Game 6 win, forcing the Game 7, going back to Denver. And that's what you want to see, man. Like, you don't want to see a blowout, of course, but if it's a 3-2 series, you definitely want to see that team losing the series come back and force the game 7, make it, count for all the marbles on probably Sunday or Saturday they'll play this game.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you got Anthony Edwards on that, on that side. I've already said that he is officially my favorite player in the NBA,
Yeah,
and
me too, brother.
he's officially my favorite player in the NBA. Would love to see him succeed. Unfortunately, I did take Denver plus the 2.5 points tonight, so I'm hoping that even if he does force a game 7, I hope Denver can tighten their bootstraps and make this a much closer game. You know who didn't have a close game yesterday? Whew, the Cavaliers. Boston closes
Yeah.
out in 5. Gentlemen sweep, handshake, see ya next year. Jason Tatum, 25 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists, flirting with that double-double. And I mean, even with Mobley's 33-point effort, the Celtics still come on top, 113-98. Boston advances to their 3rd straight Eastern Conference final. I think it's their 6th Eastern Conference final appearance in the last 9 years or something like that. You can correct me. You might know that
How
stat
many
better than me.
finals?
Hey, I was gonna get there. I was going to get there. I take it that you're not surprised by the outcome of this series.
Right.
Does Boston's season start in the NBA Finals is my question, because does their season start in the NBA Finals?
It's a fair question.
It just feels
it
like
doesn't, though. You got to give
really...
them credit. Now, we got to give them credit as far as what they've done all season. A 60-win team, gentleman sweep in the first 2 rounds. They're going to get their first real matchup of the playoffs in the conference finals, whether that be Indiana or New York. Obviously, we're probably both favoring New York. I did think New York was going to come out and win this series ultimately. It'll be interesting to see if Indiana could push to a game 7. But the scary thing about this fairy tale season they've had, it's like, yeah, as much credit as we're going to give them and as much as they deserve, they're going to have to show that they are the best team in the league in the next 2 to 3 weeks to a month going forward. Like now is when things get tighter. So to answer your question, no, I think their season started back in October, and they've been on this campaign, putting up the numbers and proving left and right why they are the number 1 team in the league. However, here is where they're really going to be putting that to the test. Like everything else has been, I don't know how to word it, because you could say like light work, you know what I mean? Like, but maybe that's just them being as good as they are, making it look like light work. The Cavs were a top 4 seed in the league. The Miami Heat obviously dealing with the injuries they did. It was unfortunate, but and if they do play New York is going to be a shorthanded team themselves, but they're a much more competitive team and a much better team than the Cavaliers, than the Pacers, and then the Heat are. So Knicks would present their toughest challenge. Indiana would be interesting. I do think this is going to be the hardest point of their season so far, and then it'll only get harder when they go and play the Western Conference champions, whoever comes out of there. But yeah, man, I'm just gonna sit back and observe. I want to see how Coach Mazzulla, puts his team in position to win, and we also got to see who they're going to even end up facing, because we got a good game tomorrow, game 6 in Indiana. Can the New York Knicks, go to Indiana for the first time this playoffs and come out victorious?
Does there's the teams that they've played, you mentioned the Heat, you mentioned Cleveland, both teams, facing some injuries. Donovan Mitchell, who I'll get to in a second, didn't even play in this game 5 with the left calf strain.
Yeah.
Marlon in the group chat, shout out to Marlon in the group chat, said, yo, Boston's overrated. Do you agree with that statement?
I would like to, but I can't. I mean, like I said, they've put up the numbers they have all season. Nobody has proved that they're better than them. They beat their first two opponents in the fashion that they should. We didn't expect them to sweep the Miami Heat. Some people did, but obviously being realistic, the Miami Heat historically don't even get swept. And then the Cavs, we expected them to put up whatever fight they did. Donovan Mitchell misses a game or two, and they end up only winning one game, and they also were missing uh, uh, Jared Allen and Karis LeVert last night, so that
Yep.
didn't help. But overrated is a stretch. I think that's a lot of that Miami Heat fanship that Marlon's talking about, and I love it. Like I do. But do I think Boston is ready for the real challenge that is an Eastern Conference Finals and a Finals? That might be too tall of an order for Boston.
We have yet to see that. I know I mentioned Donovan Mitchell didn't play game 5 with that left calf strain. June, did we see Donovan Mitchell play his last game as a Cavalier?
I think so. There was a report that came out that like the locker room was like unhappy, and Donovan Mitchell was upset with like other players. Donovan Mitchell did quote tweeted and called Cap. It doesn't matter really because right now they're at a position where this team is underperforming for what they thought they were going to get out of guys like Garland during the draft, and then Mitchell, through the signing. Evan Mobley stepped up in an elimination game. I think he scored like 33 points, and you got to give him credit. But we just don't know how far this Cavs team will ever be able to go. And for that reason, yeah, I do believe Donovan Mitchell asks out in a polite way and tries to find himself either playing alongside guys like Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, or even LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Mute. My boy muted.
Damn, that hasn't happened to me in a little bit.
Oh,
Um,
good.
so he has a year left on his contract. I don't see them. So they don't have to extend him this offseason, obviously.
Right.
He also doesn't have to accept a contract extension this offseason if they do offer it to him. And he can still play for Cleveland next season because he still has that 1 year left on his contract. I don't think that we've seen him play his last game as a Cavalier. Now, you mentioned an interesting name, Darius Garland. And if Mitchell hasn't played his last game as a Cavalier, I do think Darius Garland has played his last game as a Cavalier. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, and real quick, I think Mitchell has 2 years left on that deal, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
But Garland, it's interesting. Like it's probably gonna be either one. Like they're gonna have to make a decision. Um, Garland putting up like a stinker here in these playoffs isn't promising. Um, but I don't see a world where they lose out on both Mitchell and Garland. And obviously, Mitchell's a better player. You would like to keep him, but if he's unhappy and he asks out, you kind of got to grant that. That's like the new normal of the league right now. So I do think it's more likely that Donovan Mitchell leaves and Darius Garland stays. However, I do see a world where Darius Garland is no longer a Cav after this summer.
I want to kick it over to the chat. Shout out to Daniel York in there, Night Shift Lou in there,
Yo,
Frank Blanco in there saying Porzingis is butter soft. York saying without Porzingis, he doesn't like Boston's chances in the finals, and that Boston did have a cake walk. And we'll see what happens in these Eastern Conference Finals and who ends up coming out of that Knicks and Pacers series. Luka Doncic
real quick,
yeah, what's up?
if you don't mind, Jaden McDaniels just hit a tip-in buzzer beater for the half. 19-point lead. They're up 59-40 on Denver. And so we'll keep an eye on this double-digit lead here. But, yeah, man, Luka Doncic.
Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, and the Dallas Mavericks are up 3-2 on the Oklahoma City Thunder, headed back to Dallas behind a Luka Doncic 31-point performance. Ooh, 10 rebounds, 11 assists, triple-double, ball is life, as they say. And on the other side of that, SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, MVP, runner-up, 30 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists. Talking to the triple double, but didn't quite get there in a 12-point loss. Like I said, heading back to Dallas, if I'm not mistaken, on Sunday. You could probably correct me on that if I'm wrong, but they are heading back to Dallas. Can Dallas close us out in 6, or are we going to see something where they possibly force a game 7? June, what do you think about this series?
Well, OKC is going to have to come out a little stronger if they want to extend this series. It was real impressive to see what Dallas's defense is able to do on one of the top scoring teams in the league, the best team in the West. 92 points. That's a low number.
Yep.
And, we're talking about a team with Kyrie and Luka in the backcourt. And this is not a defensively mechanically built team like the Timberwolves are, right? But I think that they're both buying in, and the acquisition of guys like PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford, along with the signing they had with Derrick Jones Jr. I mean, they got a lot of length, they got a lot of size on the wings and down low, and so they're making it really, really tough for OKC to gather points. And I don't know, man. OKC, we've seen this before. Like we weren't surprised if the Lakers had matched up with OKC that they could have possibly won a first round matchup because of things like size, obviously experience, and so we find ourselves watching OKC have to go on the road now to Dallas to try to keep their hopes alive, and then have to come back home and win 2 consecutive games so that they can ultimately get to the Western Conference Finals. And I think that they just put a little too much on their plate. They had, an opportunity to take care of business in Game 5 at home. And, like I said, like Kyrie Irving didn't even have that 40-point game or anything like that. He scored 12 points yesterday. Luka Doncic came out with, I think 31 and played a hell of a game. But like I said, I think the defense has been such a key this series for Dallas, making it really uncomfortable for those guys to get to their spot. And then, Josh Giddey underperforming. He got benched. So SGA needs a little bit more help, and with that, I think the series is not over. By far, I think that OKC can definitely go to Dallas and still win. They've already stole one in Dallas, but like I said, I think that it is a lot on their plate right now, and it might be too little too late.
That's kind of what it seems like. I think the energy in Dallas, I kind of referenced it last episode, just looks and feels like legitimate playoff basketball. And not to say that Oklahoma City doesn't have that feeling or that energy, but their inexperience in the playoffs as a young team is showing. Even when first quarter, I watched that game last night, and first quarter, OKC was hooping. They was hooping. They was running up and down the court with Dallas, keeping it close. They was hooping, but that inexperience down the long the long run, the stretch, I think is catching up to them at this point. And Luka Doncic smiling in press conference is not really what you want to see, because I feel like when Luka's happy, he's
things are going well.
Yeah, right? Things are going well, and it's the trends tend to kind of stay trending toward Dallas. I think they close out at home, man. I do think that they close out at home. The poise of this OKC team has been wonderful, has been amazing. Like you said, one of the top scoring teams in the league this year. But like I said, I think that inexperience catches up to them, and it bites them in the butt in Dallas on Saturday. Excuse me, not Sunday. On Saturday in Dallas, it's gonna be rocking. You're gonna definitely need a little more from Kyrie, but I do think that they close out in Dallas on Saturday. The Knicks look to close out in Indiana behind a Jalen Brunson 44-point performance. I mean, they won all 4 quarters. Talk about just complete domination. You win it a quarter by a quarter, and by the time the last one's over, if you've been up all four, then you're up for the game, and that's the dub, and that seems to have been the mentality that they have. But can they close out on the road, June?
It's going to be tough, man. You got to give a lot of credit to New York. Like I said, I thought they would respond after being punched in the mouth 40 piece in Indiana. They come out and 30 piece them back. And so
Haymakers back and forth.
why I don't mind these two blowouts, because we got four good games, right? Like games 1 through 4 almost all went down to the wire. We're getting a lot of competitive basketball back and forth. There wasn't too big of a lead either way. And both teams made a solid push toward the end to be able to win the game or put themselves in a position. Game 5, it got out of hand in Indiana. Game 4 got out of hand in Indiana, where the Knicks let it slip away. Game 5, New York comes back. And like I said, I want to see if New York can go on the road and close out a game. And I think that will be very telling if they do, going into the Eastern Conference Finals, because, I do think ultimately they'll win the series, right? Even if they do lose game 6 on the road, I think they'll come back to the Garden and close it out. But if they win on a road, game 6 closeout, it just shows you the poise. It shows you the moxie. It shows you what kind of team they are and how they're built, to where you believe, this team can go into Boston and steal a game or two and take that series and put themselves in a position to go to the finals, right? I don't want to talk too much about a possible Eastern Conference Finals. We'll get there Monday.
Absolutely.
All the conference finals matchups will be set by then. If Dallas OKC goes 7, that would be settled by Monday night. But all the other ones will be set. And so I just think that it's a big, big feat if New York can go into Indiana tomorrow and close this out. It'll show a lot, and it would also build a lot of confidence for them to be able to, feel comfortable going on the road in the playoffs, because, hey, they were able to win in round 1 on the road in Philly, but they haven't been able to do that in this round. And if they can't do that tomorrow, what do you think they're going to be able to do if they do win the series in Boston? It's going to be a tough environment. They're going to be first 2 games on the road. They lost their last 2 road games in Indiana. So going down 0-2 to Boston in the conference finals situation, obviously you can come back to the Garden and try to put up 2 wins, but your back's going to be against the wall and you're going to be playing out of desperation. So that's just something that I'm going to pay attention to. New York should close out tomorrow. If they can't, then I really don't think they have a chance to go to the finals. That's just how I see it.
Yeah, mind you, they played on Tuesday, so it's interesting these extra days of rest that the NBA is, giving these players. I don't know if it's, conflicts between, NHL and maybe, other entertainment events and things like that. But they haven't played since Tuesday, which obviously, I wouldn't say obviously, but which certainly I believe would benefit the Knicks. And we reference, them being a little injured and such. So I think that extra day of rest will definitely benefit them. And I mean, I know you say you don't want to, dive too deep into it, but I have no doubt in my mind that the Knicks would rather, be flying to Boston after Friday night than flying back to New York. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the line right now, Indiana -5.5 at home, game 6, June. Too many points?
You said 5.5?
5.5.
Nah, I think that's good. I think and that's New York's favor, right? Indiana's the underdog.
No, that's Indiana favored at home.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay. I mean, yeah, I would probably say like 3.5. I'd feel a little more comfortable. Yeah. 5.5 is a lot. New York hasn't won in Indiana yet, but the games have been close. The games have been pretty close. Six is a big number.
6 is a high number. We know.
I mean, hey, 40 was the last number in Indiana, so I can see I can see where they got that from.
Home team automatically gets 3 points. So Vegas is saying Indiana is about 2.5 points better than New York
Yeah.
this Friday night. I want to kick it over to the chat, and I know that we say we don't want to, dig too deep into the conference finals. I mean, the conference
Conference
finals.
finals.
Yeah, conference finals. But Frank Blanco in the chat wants to know what series would be better, New York Boston or Indiana Boston, June.
Shout out to Frank Blanco, man. I think it's New York. I think it's New York Boston. Right now, New York is a little more banged up than Indiana is, but uh for some reason, this Pacers team, I feel like I don't think that they're built for Boston. I don't think that. I think New York is built for Boston. They got a lot of defense. They're not going to let Boston just. I feel like Boston would come out and score 130 points a game on Indiana, realistically. And so I wish it was New York a little more. Not literally, but for my fans' sake, I wish we could see a healthy New York team versus a healthy Boston team, just so that we can get the best experience. But even with the situation being what it is right now with their health, I do think New York puts up more of a fight. Ultimately, I got Boston in 6 versus either the New York Knicks or the Indiana Pacers, possibly 5 if they get to play the Pacers.
Ooh, I like it. I like it. I like it.
What
Yeah,
what do what do what does Frank Blanco think? Let us know in the chat what you got. What you think is a
yeah.
better series?
Let us
You got
know.
it.
He said word to what you just said, and I kind of agree. I don't, no hate. You know what I'm saying? I'm very indifferent towards Indiana, but I that's like TCU in a national championship, man. It's gonna. I think it's gonna get nasty. I don't think Indiana. I think New York makes it 6.
Yeah,
I don't think Indiana
yeah.
makes
I
it
don't. I
6.
don't really either.
I don't know about all that, but hey, you know what New York team is in their conference finals. We're gonna kick it over to the NHL because the
You better
Rangers.
hope they ain't playing still.
Nah, they
They was
not.
playing around.
They was down 3-0 in the second period. They go on to ring
Oh, they
off.
came back.
They go on to ring off 4 of them things in the PNC Arena in Raleigh, North Carolina, in the third period to clinch their conference finals. The New York Rangers await the winners of Boston and Florida, who we'll get to in 1 second. The Rangers, man, they clinched on the road. We were hoping they could clinch in New York the other night, but that obviously did not happen because they went to game 6. The Carolina Panthers, that's awkward. That's very weird. The Carolina Hurricanes played a hell of a game the other night to force a game 6, avoid elimination. But the Rangers
Yeah.
understood what the assignment was this evening, although they, came out a little lackadaisical as
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 Zion
Zion
Williamson tried
Williamson
to say.
lackadaisical, and the Rangers scored 4 goals in the third period to clinch. Final score 5-3. This team's dominant, June. This team's very dominant.
Hey,
What
this
do you
man, this man said if New York wins, I'm pulling out the visor do rag. It's crazy.
It's crazy, bro.
Man, don't do
um
that.
so now we could possibly see a Florida, New York, or maybe possibly 2 Boston, New York conference finals, which would be
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
The sports scripts are going wild right now. This Rangers team very dominant, June. What do you see from them where they could clinch a Stanley Cup final?
I mean, listen, they've been top of the league all season, and much like the Panthers, right, dominating in their division, playing with pace. And I don't know. I'm a Vinny Trocheck guy, so I don't know if he has something to do with this run right here. But Vincent Trocheck has been playing unbelievable. Um, they that goal that was saved earlier in the Carolina game was possibly save of the year, and somehow New York was able to overcome that. We've seen them win on the road. We've seen them protect their home court or home ice, I should say. And so I can't put my thumb on exactly what it is about this Rangers team, but all I know is that they've been playing this great style of hockey since late October.
Yeah, absolutely. 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 Trocheck did get in one of those goals out of the five. Crater, Kreider had a great game, 3 goals. Goodrow added to that 1 goal, added 1 goal to that as well. I mean, just all around team performance. And once again, they are waiting for the results of Florida,
Hey,
Boston.
Florida got to close this one out. I'm not gonna lie, man.
Ah, they have to. They literally
Yeah.
have to. They will play tomorrow night in Boston, game 6. Florida is favorited -150, Boston +130. Whew. So Vegas is saying Florida will close out and play the Rangers in the conference final. What are you seeing, June?
Get them out of here.
Vamos
Get them out of here. Yeah, Vamos
gatos.
Gatos, man. I ain't gonna lie. Like, this is on the road too, right? They'll be in Boston for
They
this
will
game.
be. Yep.
Well, we saw what happened last time they were in Boston. Florida was able to take care of business, and clearly, this Panthers team is not, wavered by location. Like, they're either going to come out and play their game, or it's going to be an off night, and that's what they've showed us. So I don't think home court, home ice has anything to do with this game 6. Florida knows exactly what they need to do to win this game and close out this series. They don't want to bring it back to Sunrise and give Boston any other slivers or thoughts of another opportunity to try to win this series. Um, it would be a hell of a story if Boston comes back and wins this series in 7. Last year was pretty bad for Boston. It ended very
Oh, they
salty, and
remember.
these two teams hate each other. So for Florida to avoid all that and even the opportunity for any of that, you got to come out, go on the road, win this game, and await or not even await, go see New York, and that would
Absolutely.
be
Nah, that
in New York or
that would be in Florida, if I'm not mistaken. That Florida would have
yeah,
the
they
home
got
ice
that home
advantage.
home ice.
Yeah. I was,
Tomorrow. Now I was
you
gonna
rep.
say tomorrow, man. I ain't had plans, but I'll definitely be tuning into Indiana, New York, and Florida versus Boston.
Heck yeah. You referenced that how that series ended last season, and once again, I went to that game 3 in Sunrise, and I left that game 3 thinking, well, there goes the
Season's
series,
over.
there goes the season, and we rang off 4 of them things, including, if I'm not mistaken, that was a series where we had one of the longest NHL games ever that just kept.
Oh wow, yeah,
If I'm not
yeah,
mistaken, that shit went to like 2 in the morning. I remember that,
crazy.
and ah, Verhage scores like, oh, he went straight. Let's go. Let's hop on the plane. We out. We out. We gotta go. We gotta go. So
Yep.
I'm sure definitely Boston remembers that. They don't want to repeat that. Florida would like to repeat that, but doesn't. But we don't want it to go 2-7. We need to close out in Boston and head back to Florida and welcome the Rangers to town. We also have Game 5 in Vancouver. Edmonton Oilers and the Vancouver Canucks tied 2 apiece. Connor McDavid, not too far. They're both in Canada, but we'll be traveling back to the Canucks in Rogers Arena, Vancouver, British Columbia. I don't know, man. The Oilers just they don't look as dominant as 2 seasons ago when we were betting them. And I know there was that one night I was at your place. We just finished potting and Oilers won in overtime. It was such an exciting season. It just looks like they don't look as together, as dominant. Vancouver, I would say has them on their heels right now. Really, you think the Oilers can come back and close this out, June?
I mean, yeah, they can. You got Connor McDavid on your team. I think anything's possible, but
McJesus, as they call
that's
him.
crazy. Is it likely? I don't think so. I think Vancouver's been playing pretty good this series. So
And the other Dallas team that is looking to close out is the Stars. Once again, there's just something about the Avalanche I do not like. Stars
we
are
just
looking.
rolling with the stars, man. We just
We
riding
just
with the stars.
riding with the Stars. Riding with the Stars. I agree. They'll play tomorrow 10 p.m. after that Panthers and Bruins game. Dallas is at even money right now. Colorado's at -120. Very interesting. I get that you're home in Ball Arena. Let's go Stars. Let's go Stars. June, the NFL schedule's out, and Chiefs at Falcons week 3 Sunday night football. Obviously, something I'm pretty excited about. You
Yes,
as a Colts
sir.
fan, what are you most excited about, and what divisions do you guys play this year?
We got the AFC East for sure. I'm not sure. I was actually trying to figure that out yesterday when I was reading it, but I know we have the AFC East. Um, it's going to be interesting to see us, play Miami. We get to play Buffalo. These are some and the Jets. We got the Jets week 11 prime time. So the AFC East is obviously a loaded division. Talent up and down. It's going to be a great challenge for us to, see what we're going to look like against these guys in the playoffs, possibly. It's going to be great experience for Anthony Richardson to have to play against, these defenses because I believe the Jets, the Bills, and even the Dolphins, even you put the Patriots in there too, have strong defenses. So I love the challenge. We only have one primetime game. Like I said, that's that week 11, which is a little underwhelming, but I guess fair. I'm excited to open the season against Houston at home, where we can try to get it back in blood. Last
Let's
year,
get it.
we missed out on the playoffs, losing to Houston week 18, and Anthony Richardson wasn't there. He was obviously hurt for the rest of the year, got hurt early, but he also did score 2 touchdowns in the first quarter versus Houston when he did play them in a game that he got hurt and got a concussion. So, yeah, man, CJ Stroud versus Anthony Richardson week 1, very, very exciting. But it's not just the Colts that I'm excited about, bro. We got a lot of games and key matchups that we're going to be able to look towards during this season. Week 2, Steelers at Broncos. Justin
Oh,
Fields is going to possibly, it'll be more so Russell Wilson,
mm.
playing against his old team.
I got a week 2
Um,
matchup. I'm looking forward to as well. Actually,
we
that's
got
gonna.
who's your week 2 matchup you looking at?
Whew. Chicago going to Houston, man. Caleb Williams, C.J. Stroud. I,
Mm.
I don't want to say game of the year just yet because
Hey, no. We're not gonna say that at all. Actually,
but I'm very excited to see Caleb Williams and C.J. Stroud go head to head in Houston. I think that's going to be a great matchup. What about you?
week 1, Monday Night Football, New York Jets at San Francisco 49ers.
Mm.
I mean, it's gonna be one of those moments where Jets fans are holding their breath. They get to see their quarterback, their captain, number 12 out there. They didn't get to see him last year for more than 4 minutes. Hopefully, we get to see a full 18 regular season games and a playoff appearance out of Aaron Rodgers in New York. He's going to be playing against one of the best defenses in the league and a team that probably can't wait to get back on the field and show the NFL what they've got because we saw them in the playoffs and in the Super Bowl. They came up short versus Kansas City, but they basically won that Super Bowl in the first 3 quarters. And then we all saw Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid start cooking up. And that defense in Kansas City, we got to give them a lot of credit. But, yeah, I'll be excited to see Aaron Rodgers. And then I'm also excited to see week 1, Baltimore, Kansas City. I know we spoke about that one. Week 11, we get Baltimore, Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts versus Lamar
Mm-hmm.
Jackson. And
Mm-hmm.
also in week 1, the Eagles are going to be playing in a neutral site, I believe, quote unquote, hosting the Green Bay
Oh,
Packers
yep.
in Sao Paulo. Sorry, I just had a little brain fart in Sao Paulo. So it'll be interesting to see, how the NFL expanding to a country like Brazil is going to be. I'm sure there's a big fan base out there, and that'll be a new experience.
Yeah, man. Chiefs go on the road to Buffalo in week 11. That's going to be very interesting for me to watch. And I mean, starting the season with Baltimore, Cincinnati, whew, eh,
Yeah.
as much as I hate on Cincinnati because I mean they're gonna miss the playoffs again this year, but they're always a tough opponent for us. They I don't want to say they have our card, but they definitely play up to that caliber of standard of championship standard, as they say. I want to go back
Yeah.
to the Bears real quick because I was looking at their schedule earlier and I noticed that they don't start division play until week 11, June.
Interesting.
So Tennessee, Houston, Indianapolis, Rams, Carolina, Jacksonville in London, Washington, Arizona, New England, and then Green Bay. Their last, week 11 to week 18 is where the bulk of all of their divisional games are, with the exception of playing San Francisco once at San Francisco. So they don't start divisional play until week 11. They have one of the easiest schedules as far as strength of schedule is concerned. Do you think that the NFL has set up Caleb Williams for success this first season?
I don't. I think, they could have one of the weaker strength of schedules, but having a compact division schedule like that, I mean, your bottom half of the season when your guys are banged up, you're tired, you've everybody's kind
You've
of
gone
got
to
that
London, come
cohesiveness.
back.
Yeah, like the cohesiveness is already should be there with other teams. That's tough for a rookie quarterback, number one overall pick, with all eyes on him, to have to go and play each of his divisional games twice within, a 7, 8 to 9 week span. Like, these games are playoff games at this point. Now, did they do a favor for Caleb Williams as far as his career development, as far as like getting, experience under his belt? Of course. But man, that's a setup. Like, the Bears could be poised to like be on a playoff run through 11. Like, wow, the Bears have only lost 4 games. And here we go. Division play starts and you lose 3 of those off the rip. And you're like, damn, now we're here playing makeup ball. So it could go either way. I'm excited to see this Bears team nonetheless, because they did improve their offense or their defense last year. They've improved their offense this offseason. So yeah, of course they're gonna have the opportunity to do what they can do, but I don't think that's pretty favorable if you ask me.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's jam packed. That bottom half of it's very bottom heavy, and for you to play teams, 2 times in the span of 2 weeks, if
Yeah,
you're not preparing to that NFL standard, like, you might win one, but they're gonna beat you up that next game,
yeah,
and it's definitely gonna be a tough, second half of the season, and I mean, I hope he's mentally prepared for that. I hope they mentally prepare him for that, not only mentally but obviously physically, to have to play, that division that's, very defensive minded, and always been defensive minded, you know.
yeah.
Ooh. Any other standout matchups, schedules, things like that you made note of or are excited for?
Yeah, we get week 7 in San Francisco. 49ers will be hosting your Kansas City Chiefs in a Super Bowl rematch, possibly another Super Bowl rematch. I mean, we've seen these teams go to the Super Bowl twice in the last 4 years or so. So, yeah, I mean, Shanahan versus Reed again. It's always a good game. I'll expect no different.
Ooh, exciting. Definitely excited for that Super Bowl rematch. Oh man, June, you got any other last thoughts before we wrap the pod up?
Well, it's a 25-point game here in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Mm.
Anthony Edwards took a tough fall, hurt his lower back. I mean, he shot his free throws. He's still in the game. He should be fine. Obviously, he's 22 years old. We look at these guys like, we saw Dwayne Wade had that commercial, fall down 7 times, get up 8. Very inspirational back in the day. I expect he'll be fine and ready. This one looks like it's going to 7, man. Obviously, there's still 9 minutes left. They just brought it down to 22, and Minnesota's trying to hold on, and I'm sure they will. But I expect a great game this Saturday. Would it be a game 7? Would it be Saturday?
I
I
believe
looked
so.
at it and everything. But yeah, man, I'll expect a great game this weekend in a game 7. So hey, man, if
Sunday,
Minnesota,
Sunday to be decided.
okay,
Sunday.
Sunday, so if Minnesota can do this for real, man, and knock off the defending champs, it's something we got to talk about and have a serious conversation about um, as possible finals uh, winners, because I was already saying whoever wins this series is going to be the finals winner, and I still believe that. Like, if Denver, holds on and can win at home game 7, or even come back tonight, I think they go on to win the finals. But if Minnesota can win game 6, then win game 7, and that would be beating Denver 2 times in a row, 2 times in this series. That's tough. And so I do think the winner of the series is the finals winner. And yeah, that's all I got, bro.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, as we cross over the 45-minute mark, this has been your Thursday night All Things Sports podcast episode. If you tuned in live, we appreciate you. You could have been anywhere in the world on this beautiful evening, but you were here with us. If you're listening after the fact on your streaming platforms, thank you so much for taking time out of your day. We'll see y'all on Monday with some conference finals updates. Peace.